The House has long understood the role of the government as defender of the realm and its heavy responsibilities in matters of security, national defence and international relations. Similarly, the government understands the House's undoubted role as the grand inquest of the nation and its need for complete and accurate information in order to fulfil its duty of holding the government to account. Examples have been cited of mechanisms that might satisfy the competing interests of both sides in this matter. In view of the grave circumstances of the current impasse, the Chair believes that the House ought to make one further effort to arrive at an interest-based solution to this thorny question. Accordingly, on analysing the evidence before it and the precedents, the Chair cannot but conclude that the Government's failure to comply with the order of December the 10th, 2009 constitutes prima facie a question of privilege. I will allow House leaders, ministers and party critics time to suggest some way of resolving the impasse, for it seems to me we would fail the institution if no resolution can be found. However, if in 2 weeks' time the matter is still not resolved, the Chair will return to make a statement on the motion that will be allowed in the circumstances. In the meantime, of course, the Chair is disposed to assist the House in any way it can, and I'm open to suggestions on any particular role that I, as your Speaker, can play. I thank the House for its attention. The question then would be whether this interpretation subjugates the legislature to the executive. It is the view of the Chair that accepting an unconditional authority of the executive to censor the information provided to Parliament would in fact jeopardize the very separation of powers that is purported to lie at the heart of our parliamentary system and the independence of constitutional parties. Furthermore, it risks diminishing the inherent privileges of the House and its members, which have been earned and must be safeguarded. As has been noted earlier, the procedural authorities are categorical in repeatedly asserting the powers of the House in ordering the production of documents. No exceptions are made for any category of government documents, even those related to national security. And therefore, the Chair must conclude that it is perfectly within the existing privileges of the House to order production of the documents in question. Bearing in mind that the fundamental role of Parliament is to hold the government to account, as the servant of the House and the protector of its privileges, I cannot agree with the government's interpretation that ordering these documents transgresses the separation of powers and interferes with the spheres of activity of the executive branch. 2002 that I was, quote, prepared as I must be to accept the Minister's assertion that he had no intention to mislead the House. Nevertheless, this remains a very, very difficult situation, end of quote. I then went on to conclude that, quote, the situation before us where the House is left with two versions of events is one that merits further consideration by an appropriate committee, if only to clear the air, end of quote. In keeping with this fairly recent precedent, and mindful of the ruling by Mr. Speaker Jerome cited earlier, the Chair is of the view that sufficient doubt exists to warrant a finding of prima facie a privilege in this case, and accordingly, I will invite the member for Scarborough-Guildwood to move his motion in due course. But at the moment, I wish to return to the honourable member for King's Hants to move his motion on the earlier case.